My entire family is being torn apart by a pasta salad. My mom recently hosted a pool party and cookout type event. Growing up, I was always taught that bringing food to someone's house, unless asked, is a huge slap in the face and disrespectful of your host. My girlfriend was raised the total opposite and thinks that it's rude to show up empty-handed. I've been struggling with getting my family to understand that my girlfriend's way of doing things isn't wrong. I want them to see that, as I bring someone new into the family, they need to be willing to change a little as well. My girlfriend made pasta salad for the party. I did tell her that my mom might be a little offended, but hopefully not, since we'd had a few talks about being more open-minded. My girlfriend already feels that my family dislikes her, which is true. They've been somewhat cold. We showed up at the party. My mom made a bit of a face at the pasta salad, but didn't say anything. She showed her where she could put it, but I could see my mom's friends sort of smirking and giving each other looks. My stepdad came out of the house, and my mom was like, "Oh, look what girlfriend's name made," which I thought was a bit weird. He clearly was not happy, and didn't greet us. I heard my mom's friend asking my mom if she and my girlfriend had drama. My mom said she hardly knows her, and they don't have drama. But the friend was like, "Oh, really?" because I took that as a witchy move. Needless to say, my girlfriend felt awkward. No one touched the pasta salad, and I could see her getting discouraged. I went over and offered some to my stepdad's mom, who accepted it. I don't think she knew what was going on, but my stepdad came over and took her plate and got rid of it. I heard him whispering to his mom, telling her to just go along with it, and I heard him say the words, "mean girl." At this point, I was annoyed, and sought out my sisters and their partners. I told them everyone was being ridiculous, and asked them to have some pasta salad to make my girlfriend feel better. My older sister said no, because she thinks bringing it was rude. My younger sister said she isn't responsible for my girlfriend's feelings, and that she doesn't give a flying fudge pop. At this point, I lost it, and told them that if they didn't eat some, it was going to change how I looked at them. They were being petty little biscuits, and if they don't at least take some, I'm going to hold it against them. I even said my younger sister could discreetly throw it out because I know she hates ricotta. They both got annoyed and walked off. My girlfriend was emotional and called my family trash, so we left. My mom texted me the next day that I'm a bully, saying I disrespected my sister's autonomy by pressuring them. She told me to learn the meaning of the word no, and that none of them are obligated to care about my girlfriend's feelings. Am I the jerk for pressuring my family to eat my girlfriend's pasta salad? I won't lie, when this original poster said she showed her where she could put it, I was picturing something a lot more graphic. But it actually sounds like this mother, who doesn't particularly like OP's girlfriend, was still willing to accommodate her when she disrespected the wishes of the host. In fact, OP's mom even defended the girlfriend when somebody criticized her. And the sisters weren't being jerks, especially the younger one. Nobody has an obligation to eat a food they don't like just to make another person feel better. Yet this OP still went off and decided to derail their entire relationship over a pasta salad. So yes, OP, you're the jerk. Your stepdad's a jerk too, but that doesn't make it okay to put your girlfriend's feelings on your sisters. It's also worth noting that this OP admitted in the comments that his girlfriend specifically brought the pasta salad to rub it in the family's faces, that she didn't agree with their way of doing things. So it turns out she really does have drama with the family because she went out of her way to cause it. None of this justifies the stepdad taking food out of his own mother's hands and throwing it away, but the sisters in this case had every right to turn down a salad they didn't want. And if the girlfriend is willing to cause a scene and insult the entire family because they won't eat her food, then she can stop bringing food where it isn't wanted. It's not that hard. My heartless stepson made fun of my daughter's chemotherapy, and my husband's taking his side. My 16-year-old daughter Megan just finished her chemotherapy. She's lost her hair in the process, and she's been incredibly insecure because of it. She no longer meets friends, nor welcomes them at our home, nor does she even meet family in person. It's been bad, to say the least. But her 18-year-old stepbrother Ben has been making it worse with his nagging comments and jokes about her looks. He tried taking pics of her secretly and posting them to share, but I shut that down, even though my husband thought it was just harmless teasing. My husband's sister's wedding was last week. The family wanted Megan to go, but she didn't want to. I spent so much time trying to help her and convince her to start socializing again and see family. She agreed under the condition that I let her wear a wig. I agreed. Not only that, but I took her shopping to pick her own wig, and she looked beautifully stunning in her pixie hairstyle wig. My husband and Ben laughed when they saw it. I don't know why. We went to the wedding and everything was going well. We were sitting and we started talking about Megan's looks. Suddenly, Ben reached out and pulled her wig, exposing her head. I was shocked. I froze. But Megan yelled, then took her wig and ran. Ben, his cousins, and some guests started laughing. I lost it on Ben and berated him in front of everyone. Then I took my stuff, got Megan, got into the car, and went home. Ben and my husband didn't have a ride home, and my husband kept calling me, but I didn't respond. He came home angry about me leaving mid-wedding, upsetting his sister, and then leaving him and Ben with no ride home. I argued with him about how Ben embarrassed Megan and humiliated her publicly, which must have ruined what's left of her self-esteem. My husband said that it was just kids teasing each other, and that I overreacted. He said Ben had no malicious intent, that he was just messing with her. I told him I was sick of it, but he said that this is their way of bonding as step-siblings, and that I was getting in the way of it by being overprotective and unreasonable. We didn't talk after that. Ben is refusing to apologize, and his dad is backing him up. Am I the jerk for taking my daughter and leaving the wedding? You are so obviously not the jerk, although it's hard to imagine how you've been married to this man for any amount of time without realizing that he and his entire family are monsters. There's just no way that they waited until your daughter's chemo of all things to show this side of themselves. Your husband, your stepson, his cousins, and your sister-in-law all seem to think that mocking a teenage survivor is somehow okay. For anyone who doesn't realize it, let me explain why they were laughing at her wig. It's because, if it's anything like most wigs, it looked terrible. It looked beautiful to the original poster because it was being worn by her daughter. But most affordable wigs are very obviously wigs. This tends to make chemo patients even more self-conscious because they're basically hanging a lampshade on the very baldness they're trying to cover up. If OP's husband and his son had even a shred of empathy, they'd realize that and give this girl the support she needs. I hate saying things like this, but if the husband and his son are really unwilling to do so much as apologize, then it's time for OP to decide between her daughter and her marriage. And there's really only one logical choice. My sister thinks I should let her husband hit on my best friend just because she was in adult films. I had my birthday recently, and my intermediate family was there. My best friend was also there. Without saying too much, out of respect for her privacy, I won't give too much info. But the only thing you need to know is that she was in special movies in her early 20s, but quit the industry a few years ago. We'll call her M. Me and M are super close, and have been friends since I was 10 and she was 15. She used to babysit me while her mother would cut my mother's hair. We've been with each other through all our lives, and we're both the godparents to each other's potential children. Since she's basically my sister without blood, she's been at most of the functions I've had. Our families have also celebrated Christmas together. My birthday this year was special, as COVID-19 made it so that I couldn't really have any guests over. This year was also special, as my sister has gotten divorced and has remarried, so I met her new husband. The birthday was fine, and pretty much like most birthdays, until it went kind of wrong. Somehow my sister's new man had seen M's old videos. He started flirting and making her uncomfortable. My sister and her son, my nephew, had already gone home a little earlier. Since my sister's husband had also been drinking, this accelerated his behavior. M told me, and I got mad, and said that he either knocks it off or he's not allowed here. After about 20 minutes, he continued being gross, so I called a cab and made him leave. A day later, my sister called and got offended. She said I wasn't respecting her new husband by kicking him out. I told her the situation, and she said that M shouldn't have been in those videos in the first place. I told her that he's not allowed to come to any more birthday parties if he acts like that around women. This made my sister so mad that my mother and aunt called me to back her up, that I was being unfair. My sister also responded by posting memes about respect on Facebook, and messages about how blood is thicker than water. I stood my ground and called him personally about it, but this has made it so that my sister hasn't talked to me in several days. Am I the jerk? You're not the jerk, and your sister is naive at best. The fact that her husband stayed behind at your party after she left was already weird. You had no relationship with this man. There was no reason for him to hang around at your birthday without your sister there. It's already bizarre that 2 other women are siding with a man who's blatantly trying to cheat on their own family member. As many commenters pointed out, they seem to believe that OP's friend was asking for it simply because she made some videos back in the day. Weird how that somehow negates his marriage vows. It won't be long before this man is caught cheating. At this point, it's pretty much up to OP whether she wants to be the shoulder her sister will inevitably want to cry on. No self-respecting person should be ignoring warning signs this massive. But maybe when the day comes, OP should remind the aunt and mother that they co-signed this scoundrel husband's behavior. Way to support your daughter, Mom. My friend lied to me for years and ruined my wedding just because she doesn't like Indian food. I'm 26 and have known my friend since elementary school. She's been dating this guy she met for a while, and they've decided to get married. She asked me to help with wedding preparations, so I've been going with her to everything. I noticed places she'd chosen served food she was allergic to, severely allergic, as in having it cooked or eaten near her causes her throat to close up. That allergic. To provide some background, I'm Indian. At my house, we would always have Indian food. Whenever friends came over, I would ask them if they would like to try some of our food, but I never forced it. It's spicy and has different ingredients than some people are used to, so I usually would just order food or make something simple like mac and cheese. When she came to my house, I did the same. I'd rattle off what was in each dish to see if she wanted to try it. She told me she was allergic to things that were in it every time. I could relate. I have a lot of uncommon fruit sensitivities. So while I've never heard of people being allergic to some of the stuff she claimed, I know that everybody is different. Once she even started coughing and saying she felt her throat closing up when my mom heated up her own dinner. I've never seen my mom move that fast to grab Benadryl and toss her food out the door. We wouldn't even microwave food that contained her allergens after that. I was so freaked out. That was when we were kids. As we got older, I would keep her allergies in mind. I would go out of my way to look up food I could cook that she could have, and I'd call ahead to restaurants to make sure they had food options she could eat. She was a bridesmaid at my wedding. Her being there was more important to me than the food we served that day, so I opted to have a Western dinner. This was something I got a lot of crap from my extended family for. It escalated to the point certain family members said they would not attend if I could not serve them a decent Indian meal. Not something I should have cared about, but I was young. My dad had passed away not long before that, and I was trying my hardest not to lose ties. So back to her wedding and the questionable foods she's chosen to include. Maybe she plans on asking for substitute ingredients to be used. I don't know. However, one day when I was over at her place and talking to her mom, I mentioned that we should have an EpiPen with someone in the bridal party just in case. My friend's mom asked me who the EpiPen was for. When I told her, she told me that my friend isn't allergic to anything. I just laughed it off and changed the topic. Well, when I saw my friend later that day, I asked about it. She just laughed and said it was just her way of avoiding Indian food. I was shocked. I snapped at her and yelled quite a bit. I just feel so hurt that she could lie about something like this and to keep it going for years. It's not even about the food. I haven't responded to any of her calls or texts for days now. When I spoke to my mom about it, she told me that I should let it go, that I was risking my long friendship with her and possibly ruining my friend's wedding by refusing to talk to her. Am I the jerk? While this OP definitely isn't the jerk, this is actually a more complicated situation than it looks like on the surface. When this OP mentions calling ahead to restaurants and deciding to risk alienating family members by having a Western meal at the wedding, it's not actually clear whether her friend was aware that she was doing these things. Her friend was definitely wrong to lie, but did she actually keep it going for years, or did she simply forget to clear up the truth because she didn't realize OP was still catering to her fake allergies? Either way, what her friend did was terrible, but kids do a lot of reckless, terrible things that they have to grow out of. Without knowing whether her friend truly grew out of it or not, it's hard to say whether this dumb lie is worth ending a long-term friendship over. But I'm willing to admit that I could be wrong. Do you think OP should go ahead and end the friendship? Comment down below and tell us what you'd do in this situation. My wife's ex is mad at me because I won't let his Mexican daughter learn Spanish. My wife Selena has a 10-year-old daughter named Joy. Admittedly, my wife had Joy very young, but I'm not judging people for their mistakes, so I never minded it. Joy is starting to learn foreign language at school now, and she gets to pick between Spanish, French, or German. She wants to learn Spanish so she can talk to her grandmother. I didn't know this when I met Selena, but she's apparently Mexican. She moved here as a child, thus she doesn't speak Spanish. She's whiter than me, so it came as a surprise. But again, it's not a problem. I talked to Joy and suggested she pick a more useful language, such as French. She wasn't convinced, so I decided for her and told her school. She will be learning French. When her father found out, he flipped. He called me on the phone and called me all sorts of names. I told Selena, and she said that I should have allowed Joy to take Spanish, as it could be useful to her, and that it wasn't very nice of me to decide without taking Joy's opinion into consideration. But Selena trusts that I would make the right decision and said she would talk to her ex. Even so, my wife's words stayed with me. Now I'm wondering if perhaps I'm the jerk, as her ex seems to think. Am I? Since this OP seems to be expecting it, let me be the first to congratulate him on being such a big man that he's willing to forgive his wife for being Mexican. I'm sure only the noblest of men would accept the kind of woman who supports his executive decision to keep his stepdaughter from learning to communicate with her own grandmother. This whole thing is just odd. Maybe commenters are confused as to where OP lives, that French is more useful than Spanish. The obvious guess is Canada, but a number of Canadians have argued that French really isn't that useful in most provinces. It doesn't matter anyway. What makes a language useful isn't how common it is, but how commonly the speaker is able to use it. And Joy has a very clear use for learning Spanish that OP has callously ignored. Also, your wife's name is Selena, and you didn't know she was Mexican? You're the jerk for knowing jack about music history. Your utter lack of concern for your stepdaughter's feelings is just sugar on the churro. Click one of the videos on screen right now.